quick introduction of the show, and then you and I will be live for the next 35 to 50 minutes. And there we are. I'm so excited. My name is Gord McDougall. I'm standing in for Mr. Jamie J today as the host of Live with Bottleneck. And I'm so excited to introduce all of you to our amazing guest, Greg Russell. Greg runs a business that's really fascinating. It's about teams and marketing and success. And he's really good at this. He's been doing this for over 20 years. This man knows what he's talking about. So on that note, let's bring Greg on. Thank you very much. Or we can pop in his model, which is recurring revenue. And that is a big part of what Greg does. Hello, Greg.
Hey, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Same here. I can't tell you how much I've been looking forward to this conversation. So, Greg, is it okay if we just jump right in?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do this crazy thing. So, Greg, tell us about the last 20 years, what you do, why you do it, how you do it. Give us a bit of an insight into what the world of Greg Russell's all about.
The last 20 years. Okay, well, listen, I got into this, honestly, I wanted to play professional football, and it didn't work out. And, and what I wanted to do, I wanted to have my own business. I wanted to retire early from professional football and go into my own business. And when football didn't work out, I decided to just go ahead and start the business anyway. My first business, and I knew before that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I knew it like 12 years old, and I started my first business at 12 years old. My mom financed it for me, and it was during the summer before school. So I had like this summer business idea, and of course it failed, but I gave it my all. And I knew that I didn't want a job. I knew I wanted to work for someone else. So, fast forward to when college didn't work out, I decided to go home and start my business. And my mom was inspirational because we started working together, and it was a nutritional business. And I decided I was going to run a television commercial and put it on TV. Very cool. So I had these credit cards that I had collected in college. When you were in college back then, they'd offer you this cool T-shirt if you signed up for this credit card. And so I signed up for all these credit cards, and I financed this little idea with all these credit cards. So I ran a commercial on television, and I hired people to answer the phones, to collect a flood of calls, because I knew that this was going to work and I was going to be successful. And so I had hired them to answer the phones, and I had paid the company to produce the commercial and all the spots and ran the commercial.
That's not inexpensive. That costs money.
Yeah. Yes. All them little credit cards. Like I said,
max them all.
Max them all. All right. Put this on this one. Anyway, long story short, the ads ran for 2 weeks. I got one phone call and no sales. And it was heartbreaking. It was discouraging. It was a bad situation. But I had to go get a job, and the guy who had the answering phone service felt bad for me, and he's like, "Hey, I know this one guy who's doing some things well on the internet. Call him and see if he can help you out." So long story short, I called that guy, and he said, "Hey, I can't help you, but the guy who does my stuff can help." He passed me along to someone else, and that guy was like, "Hey, I guarantee you $30,000 in sales." Wow. He said, "I guarantee you $30,000 in sales." And so I said, "Okay, of course, yes, let's do it." And we had to find the money because we had maxed out everything. I was actually working an overnight job at a place called Kinko's, which doesn't exist anymore. They were bought out by FedEx. And so, he started this, and he started trying to, generate these sales for me. And we was doing that for about a year. We had invested in his thing, and long story short, he couldn't produce after about a year. He said, listen, I can't fulfill my end of the agreement with the product or service you have. We have to go to this other product or service.
Oh, wow.
But long story short, he was able to get us at the top of the search engines. He redid a website for us, and we finally had some success, started success about a year later. So in that story,
tough year,
tough,
Greg.
yeah, tough time, tough beginnings.
Tough year.
Yeah. So during that first website, before we met that guy, we had to build our own website. And so I got a book.
Greg, and I apologize. I don't normally interrupt guests on the show, but there's I feel like there's a nugget. Like I'm always looking for nuggets and things. And I feel like there's a nugget in there. And sometimes the nugget comes through hearing people's story about their struggles. So if you don't mind, I'm just going to do a little bit deeper dive into that, because I think there's two things that would really be helpful to the audience. Is what happened. In other words, sort of what wasn't working and why wasn't it working, and what did you learn from that? Do you mind if I just ask you those two questions?
No, sure.
Thank you.
So what happened was I lost all my money running the radio ad, television ad, and it almost made me quit. It was painful enough that I almost gave up.
And just sorry, Greg. Again, I'll try not to interrupt you as much as I am right now.
No, it's okay.
Why didn't the TV ads work?
Long story short, they might have worked if I had a bigger budget and could test in different areas of the country.
So the lesson for people watching this is, maybe that's a corny analogy, but the old carpenter's thing: measure twice, cut once, meaning go and do your research, find out what's going to work, be sure it's going to work, and then pour the money or gasoline on the fire. Is that essentially what it is?
Yeah. So basically, what I learned was I didn't have the research and fundamentals to effectively pull off a direct marketing campaign using television commercials. I saw television commercials all the time. I figured that was the way how to do it, but I had no business running a television commercial. But you don't know that at the time. You're like, hey, I'm gonna,
here we go.
You're young, you're driven, you're gonna go for it, right? Yeah, okay. But so I learned that listen, you have to understand the marketing medium that you're going into and what it takes to be successful and how long it takes until you find that success. And I had none of that. I didn't have the research. I didn't have anything, and so it failed miserably. And I decided not to quit.
I suspect that you have not done that ever since that happened. Now it's research, know your market, know your messaging, all that sort of stuff. So to segue a little bit, Greg, so I'm very fortunate. I hang out with a lot of successful business people. And one of the things we joke about quite regularly is, when you've had some success, and Greg, you've obviously had some success, people will sometimes, they don't have any ill intention, but they'll say things like, oh, that must be nice. That must have been easy. Those sort of comments, right? And the phrase that this group of and I have is, yes, we are the world's slowest overnight success story.
Oh, yeah.
So tell us about that.
Well, listen, when people start these businesses and they don't have the success in 3 to 4 months, I'm like, listen, I started at 12 with my first, idea trying to do this thing. And it wasn't until my late 20s that I had any kind of success. So, it was idea after failure after failure. And, deciding not to quit, deciding not to give up on it is the only reason that I can sit here on this show today and look back and smile and tell you about the things that I've done and the things that I experienced. Because a lot of people on the internet right today, they don't have the experience of running a radio ad or a TV ad, right? They don't come from understanding what came before the internet, before all of this stuff. And the internet just makes those processes faster, right? And the most important thing I can tell you that I learned from doing the gentleman who guaranteed me the sales is that whole year that, I can say a year, but listen, every day we're like, nothing's coming in. There's no sales, there's no more sales, and no more sales, right? So it was a whole year of that. And for him to come back and say, hey, I can't do it. It was like, it was like we understood that he said, I can't do it with this product, right? Because back then you didn't know what people were searching for. So he was like, I know people are searching for this other product. If we use that other product, then I can fulfill my end of the deal.
Yep.
And, so the lesson there in that nugget was in that research is know what people are searching for. You can do that easily now. You can figure out, hey, this many people are searching for this keyword, so many times a month, right? You can get that research now by just clicking into Google and going looking around. But back then you had to test, you had to figure it out.
Greg, if I was on the watching side of this podcast, by now I'd be going like, what does this Greg guy do? Greg, tell us what you do.
Listen, I help people make money on the internet. Usually they already have a product or service. I work with a lot of coaches and some real estate investors, and we help them to get found, get traffic, and get leads for their business on the internet.
Wow. And you've been doing this for 20 plus years.
I've been doing it for 20 plus years. I started out building websites. We built our own in 1996. And then I started doing it for other people in 2001. And then from building websites, it went into SEO.
Yep.
And then it kind of
morphed. Just for people that may not know what SEO is, do you mind just sorry to interrupt again, but
yeah, no. So SEO is search engine optimization, where you're going to optimize your site so that you can get found for certain keywords, the people that are searching for a product, service. You do the research to tell you these are the words you should be using. Yep. And then we optimize that site so you can get found. So people who are searching for whatever product or service you may have, they can find you.
Yeah. So in the world of internet and search, the place you want to be is on page one and high up on page one.
Yes, if you can.
Right.
If you can. It's expensive to do it now for small businesses. Yep. Back in the day, you could do it. And sometimes it makes more sense right now to just buy the traffic instead of trying to work with Google and automatically come up in the search engines. Also, now more than ever, if you search for a keyword term, most everything you see is paid ads. You usually have to scroll down to get to the free stuff. So sometimes it makes more sense for a business to just buy those keyword terms, come up there and just pay for the traffic right out instead of trying to invest in SEO, which is a long-term risky kind of deal because you never know. Google could change their algorithm and everything to add to a page and all the backlinks you need to get up in the search engines could change. And then everything you've done, those work from 6 to 12 months prior to the change could all be for nothing. So it's a risk. And I just feel that most businesses can better off buy the traffic they need right away.
So your business, you help people get found on the internet. So they rank and they have a profile, a higher profile. You help them get leads. How do you help them get leads?
It depends on the type of business. We do that research we was talking about, like,
yep.
Who's looking for you? How do you get found? Who is your customer? Where are they at? We can find people on LinkedIn. We can find people on Facebook. We can find people running ads. So it's just a matter of taking the message that you have, finding the right market, and also the right medium. And those are the three things. If you get those three things right, you can be driving traffic and leads and sales to your website every single day.
Super. Done this for 20 years. You know what you're doing. No question about it. I did a bit of research. You have a lot of positive comments about you. People like you. People are very proud to work with you. That's the message that I got when I looked at some of the research I looked at. One thing I like to do in these shows is, because we tend to talk about this in the broad terms of what the business is, who the entrepreneur is, who you are. I find that a specific story really helps to people to relate to what we're talking about. So would you mind, if you can name names, Greg, and if that's not appropriate, talk about them in more generic terms. I'd love to hear, I think I and the audience would love to hear a story about something that worked.
Okay.
Go for it.
Yeah, so I got one. I love tech. I love finding tech and researching tech. And I have a show called Technology Tuesday, which is probably how we connected. And I love sharing what I'm finding on the internet with people, that for entrepreneurs that can help them. And so back in late 2019, I found a platform that allows to do virtual events. And not knowing what was coming with the pandemic in 2020, everything started to shut down. And a colleague of mine was like, hey, I want to run a summit. And I said, I have a better idea. Why don't we run a virtual conference? And I said, I have this virtual conference platform that we can run a virtual conference. So he said, that sounds like a great idea. We put our minds together and we started to put together this conference. So you got to understand, everything was shutting down. People weren't used to Zoom and everything yet because it was, this was new, right? They were still dealing with all this, there's still frustration of everything shutting down and not knowing when it's going to come back. So we decided to have this conference called the Pivot Conference, and a lot of speakers and things back then about how to pivot because things are changing. So we decided to have this Pivot Conference. We probably had about 20 or so speakers.
Wow!
And with this conference, we had a host, we had a DJ, we had moderators for the rooms. We had 4 practice times for the events, and we taught the moderators on one practice, taught the speakers how to use the platform on another practice, did 2 all together practices, and we ran a virtual conference in May of 2020.
Perfect timing.
It was great. It was a one-day conference. People needed to be able to see and talk to other people. And the cool thing about the conference was we could put people in a room, like virtual dating. It was like just like me and you on here right now. Yep. And we had 3 minutes that we could talk to each other and get to know someone. And during that time,
speed dating,
right? The speed networking. Yep. And so we told people, here's 3 questions you can ask: where you're from, what do you do, what need do you have in your business right now? Because some people are natural networkers and some people aren't. So we gave them some instruction. That one conference set us up for the time during the pandemic. We launched a virtual events division of our company, and we did probably 50 other virtual events for people, because that one event just set us up for success for people looking to do virtual events. So if you want a story.
That trend has continued.
Oh, yeah.
Now that the pandemic is over. But that trend is continuing, much to my surprise.
Yeah, because what it did was it exposed people to what they really could do with technology, and people who during the pandemic, it wasn't really an option. You had to figure out how to have your meetings online, and people had to learn how to work from home. So now people understand what's possible and they can do it. It's like, let's have a meeting. Do we need to spend gas and get together physically when we can just jump on a computer? And as soon as you hit, end, you're still in your house and you're done, and you can go eat dinner or work with your kid or whatever. So it definitely is more.
Airfares are up, gas costs are up, hotel costs are up, you're up. So Greg, I'd like to take what I call a left turn. It's obvious to me in the brief time we've been talking that there is a lot of ground to cover here. We could spend much more than the half an hour, 45 minutes we've got here. That's very obvious. And the left-hand turn I'd like to take, Greg, is that right now there's a lot, and this is kind of, I don't know about a dark topic, but it's a real thing. There's a lot of talk right now. There's a lot of concern about recession, the economy, even though things are seeming to roll along quite well. How does an entrepreneur, a business person, how do they, looking forward, the recession isn't quite here yet, or it's pretty mild. How do they work with you? How do they work in this environment that you're so familiar with to navigate a possible recession? Do you have any words of wisdom?
Yeah, I can tell you that what's worked for me, and I have a little bit of longevity in this, and the secret for me has always been residual income. So from the very beginning, when I was a child and I thought about what kind of business I wanted, I honestly wanted to be the electric company. I wanted something you had to have, something you weren't going to live without, and something you had to pay for every single month, and something I didn't have to deliver or make. You would just get it. And so I was like, I wish I could be the electric company.
So when the refrigerator's running at 2 a.m, you're still making money.
Exactly. So how that manifested itself for me when I started building websites, it was like I would work hard to get a client. I'd get a client, and then I'd have to start marketing for the business to get more clients and build the website, and then I had to start it all over again. Right? It was a process. Early on, I had a vision and a dream, and I was building websites for real estate investors in the real estate investing industry. And to sell my websites, I would go to the meetings, and they would, have a few minutes at the beginning where you could go pitch your product and service. So I did that, but I was always stay for the whole meeting, because afterwards, when people are networking, that's when people would come up and ask me questions. A lot of the people would leave because they didn't want to sit through the thing. By sitting through the thing, I was hearing all these investors talk about, when you have an apartment building or you rent out the room, right? It's money coming in every single month. And I just kept hearing it. And then I had this vision about hosting websites. And it was like, in this vision, it was, hosting is digital real estate, right? If you build a website, they're going to have to host it somewhere. Why not you offer the hosting and collect the money every month? And so then that's what I started doing. And I started offering a discount if they hosted with me. And so I started hosting all of my clients' websites. So now, in addition to having, several $1,000s for building a website, I would get money every single month for hosting the website. And all I had to do was maintain the server. It was very.
You became the electric company.
Yeah, I became the electric company. So a lot of times when I'm working with entrepreneurs now, I try to my best to help them see residual income. You have to build that into your business, because when times get hard, it will keep you afloat, and you can build it up big enough where that you don't have to do any, you don't have to do much to be able to maintain your lifestyle and your business. And so over the years, I've seen other web guys come and go, because sometimes you have great months and you sell and you do. Then other of those lean months, what are you going to do when you don't make sales, right? But if you have that residual monthly income coming in every single month, and it's higher than what your expenses are, you have a type of freedom that most people don't have. That most people, it's hard for them to grasp it. It's like, listen, if you need $5,000 a month, right, and you're selling a $100 monthly thing, you need 50 people to cover it, and now you don't have to. You know what I'm saying?
It sounds. But Greg, what I get is it sounds simple, and there's a lot, like most good things, there's a lot of knowledge required to create that. A lot of thinking about how you're going to create that residual income, and that's what I'm hearing you say. I think, Greg, is that's where you really come in to support your clients, your customers, is helping them to figure that out.
Yep. Helping them figure out.
And Greg, would it be applicable for most businesses? Like I can see some people that are watching the show going, well, that wouldn't work in my business. Like, I even had that thought process myself. I don't get that from having this conversation with you. I think you're more like, it'll work for most businesses.
There's always a way. Let me give you an example. The car wash I'm going to now, they started a monthly program, unlimited car washes, right? $40 a month or whatever it is. Every type of software program now is offered a subscription model, right?
Yep.
So there's always a way. And here's what, so when entrepreneurs usually look down, like, how do I find customers, right? They look down, how do I find customers? And sometimes there may not be a way for you to set up a residual for customers. But if you look across, who's doing the same business that I'm doing, who's also doing web hosting, right? Who's also doing whatever business you're doing? How can I help them succeed, even if I'm referring things that give me a residual monthly, right? Because there's services. Every business uses some sort of service. We all have services that we do. If you can refer to other businesses that have a reoccurring affiliate program, you can generate money by referring.
By the way, I love the visual. You did this and looking down. And when you look this way, actually what I was seeing in my mind was a actually 360-degree circle. Look everywhere. Look at 360 degrees and you'll find it.
Yep.
That is amazing. Greg, time's going by fast because this is fun. Fun for me.
We can do this all day.
So could I, absolutely. I always like to ask guests words of wisdom. When you've been doing something and doing it well for a long period of time, quite often, and I understand it can be a bit of an awkward question, my apologies, but any words of wisdom, any direction you want to go?
I'll tell you something that's been on my heart, and it's the order matters. The order in which you do things matter. Looking back at my younger years, I didn't do things in order when I ran that radio commercial, television commercial, and it cost me, right? So the order, anytime you're trying to build something, the order matters. If you take a cake recipe, right, and you do everything it says, but you don't do it in the right order, right? If you think, I mean, just
Doesn't
right?
go well. Doesn't go. Let's
Does-
see. Put the pan in the oven. Oh no, hang on. There's nothing on the pan. That's not going to go well.
Right. You do everything, you put it, but you don't turn the oven on until last. Well, listen, the order matters. You're trying to build a house. Anything I'm trying to build, the order matters. And I think a lot of times people don't recognize that. So for me, one of the words of wisdom, the order in which you do things matter. Make sure you do it in the right order so that you get the results you want.
Fantastic. I got 100 questions for you, honest to goodness. One thing I'd like to ask you, because it's what I call an opportunity to have a shameless plug for your business. So you can do this absolutely shamelessly, just a full plug for what you do, because it's going to help people. What you do matters. So who's your ideal customer? Or do you have one?
Yeah, my ideal customer is a business coach who is teaching their clients how to market on the internet. That's the best fit. However, I can work with almost any business coach. Those are my best fit clients. But anyone who's trying to really make a presence and a name for themselves online, I can help as well. I'm really good at setting up the technical behind the scenes aspects of what runs in the background to make your business automated and allow you to scale.
Yep.
And if you have any questions, if you give me 22 minutes, I will change your world. All I need is 22 minutes, and you can go to mytechjedi.com. That's mytechjedi.com, and you can schedule a consultation, and we will help get you on the path to more profits, reoccurring income, and with a system that will do most of the work for your business.
Ooh, you make it sound so easy.
It's easy when you have the right tech and you put it in the right order. Makes all the difference in the world.
Oh, that does not. Greg, there's an obvious depth to what you do. The other thing, if you don't mind, I'm going to ask: are you currently open to new clients? Sometimes people are full. Are you open to new clients?
I am open to new clients. Yes, I am.
Cool. And the size of the business doesn't have to be ideal anymore, Greg. Do you work with businesses or coaches in particular that are just starting out, ones that are well established, everything in between?
Everything between. So I have certain programs set up for those who are already established, and then we are launching a training program for those who are just starting out.
So you cover the whole range.
I do, yes. Yep.
And do you have a team that you work? Do you have a team, Greg?
I do. I do have a team, and I also have a way to expand that team if needed. So I am open and ready for business.
I hear you. You got capacity, man.
Yeah,
there's capacity there.
Yes, sir.
And I can only imagine the success that coaches, in particular, part of my background, Greg, and I won't digress into that. Part of my background, I've been a coach, life coach, executive coach, team coach, business coach for 20 years. And it's something I really enjoy doing. So I relate to this in a big way. And one thing I know, I've actually helped the businesses that train coaches actually revamp their businesses, which has been fun. So becoming a coach and then going back into those coaching businesses and they've asked me, can you help us to make our business better? And one of the things I know about the coaching industry, the coaching business, is that there's lots of skills available. There's lots of training available to learn how to be a coach and to be a good coach. And there's very little in the way of how to have a good coaching business. The failure rate in the coaching industry it brings tears to my eyes. The number of people that put in $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 to learn how to be a coach, and then they struggle to make a living at it. So you, sir, are my hero.
I see that because their skill set is in coaching, right?
Not business.
And now you have to build. You either have to know or build a digital marketing system and engine that gets you out of coaching And a lot of times people are coaching, this is what you need, go get this and use this. And number one, they don't know what they don't know. They don't know if that's the right system for them. And then if they have that one system, there's probably another system they need to make it work, depending on how they're going to grow their business. So now you have a coach who can help people, but they have to become a digital marketing expert in order to run their business. And that's where it breaks down.
Greg, I know this from my background and experience, how absolutely 100%, 1000% true that is. So bless you for what you do.
Thank you.
If you can take, and I'm sure there's many more, but if you take one coach and help him or her to make a living, a viable, good living off of this, absolutely amazing. And it sounds to me like you help a lot more than one.
I've been behind the scenes for a lot of coaches, behind the scenes, setting up their systems as well as helping their clients get the right systems. And that's kind of why I decided to launch my program, so I can just help people right from the get-go.
Yeah, what I love about one of the many things I love about what you're saying, Greg, if I'm reading this right, and you can help coaches that have various levels of budget.
Yes.
You don't, because one of the things that's intimidating for a coach, they've already spent X thousands of dollars to become a proficient coach. Now they turn around, they expect business just to sort of fall through the door, and they learn quite quickly, no, I've got to go and spend some money to go and generate revenue and clients. And as you said, recurring revenue, love that. It's intimidating because for some of these coaches, they've already, they've spent their budget or more. But it sounds to me and again, Greg, apologies, I'm making an assumption here. Your programs fit many different budgets.
Yes, it does. So basically, the first thing, the main number one problem is people have is generating leads.
Yep.
So we have, for people who are just starting, we help them get leads. If they can, get interested people to talk to them, it's a numbers game, right? How many you just need, listen, you go to business school, they're going to tell you that 3% of the market is buying all the time, right? 3% is always buying. Yep. So if you talk to 100 people, you should be able to close 3, right? So it's a number game. Knowing that, then we can build on top of that and be like, how can we get you in front of 100 people quickly? How can we build you something that you can do every single day that will do it? So we have a system that literally gets you in front of 350 people every week, right? And it's
whoa,
yeah. So it's like, hey,
sorry, Greg. Whoa,
it's going to cost you an hour a day, right? But at the end of 2 to 3 weeks, you should have several more clients, right? Even if you suck, right? Because it's a numbers game. If you put your offer in front of enough people, somebody will say yes, right? Somebody's going to say yes. So
yeah, because a connection will form with someone.
Yep.
Absolutely. And that makes you want to jump into one other area, at least one other. And I know in my business, like I join a team as part of the team. So it's a little bit different role. It's a blend between coaching and then rolling up my sleeves and actually doing the work. If they need sales help, I'll step into a sales role. So my business is a little bit different, and I've got 30 years of capital markets experience. I know all about raising capital. Anyway, my point of this, or I'm way off track here, is one of the benefits that I could like it just warms my heart. One of the distinct benefits I could see working with you in the programs and the processes and the knowledge you have, when you grow a coaching business to any kind of size, it tends to, and if you don't suck, maybe if you do suck, but if you don't suck, it tends to start to grow by referral. So if you get, I don't know what the number is, if you get 10 clients, chances are 1 or 2 of those is going to refer you to someone else, and your referral network starts to grow very dramatically. So I always look at it like kind of like a flywheel. And to get that flywheel turning, man, that's a lot of work and a lot of effort and a lot of expertise, like what you bring to the mix. And once you get that flywheel turning, it tends to gain momentum and it tends to maintain momentum. Has that been your experience as well?
Yes, and I like your analogy. My analogy is always like you're rolling a snowball up a hill.
Yep.
and it's getting bigger and heavier every time you go. But you got to give it over the crescent, and then it'll start to gravity will pull it down on its own, and you don't.
And it'll get bigger yet.
And it's going to get bigger yet, right? And that's what we want to help people do. But they have to be open enough to realize it's going to be hard at times. You got to give it over the hill. Most people give up before they do, and so we encourage them. We'll get you over that hump, but don't give up during the lean times.
So you do a lot of coaching yourself, or hand holding, or encouraging, or picking somebody up when they want to fall over.
Yeah, but it depends on where they are. It's steps. Listen, if you're struggling and you weren't getting any leads, now you're getting leads, and now you're not converting those leads. But listen, you weren't getting leads before. You took a step. Now you're getting leads. Now we got to take another step and convert leads, right? So it's all about moving them forward.
Yeah, and something that and maybe this is the note we'll sort of wrap up on, Greg. Although if there's anything else you want to chat about that we haven't covered, happy to spend a few more minutes. And the point I'm trying to make, or I'm looking to make here, is that you've been doing this for 20 plus years. Oh, there is one more topic. Hang on, but we'll just hold that for half a second. There's a big topic we haven't touched yet. Something that I know is near to your heart. But it's obvious to me, Greg, through spending this time with you and getting to know you and having learned about your business outside of these conversations, you're really passionate about helping people, supporting people, helping them to succeed. It's absolutely genuine. You can tell it's in every fiber of your being. I know your business is a for-profit business. It's also very much, to me, it seems like it's a mission-driven business. I'm going to help people be successful.
Yeah, it is. And I think, I'm glad you sense that and feel that. And I believe that's just, a part of my faith. When I lost, and part of the story you didn't hear is when I lost $30,000 a month in sales. So the guy who guaranteed me the $30,000 in sales, we hit it, and we were making $30,000 in sales a month. And then the product that we were promoting was a nutritional product. They decided not to renew our distributorship, and we went from $30,000+ in sales a month to zero in about 4 months. And at that time, after struggling for 10+ years from my youth to college to finally getting this thing going to making some money to then have it pulled away from me, I was like, what's missing in my life? And it was that I wasn't focusing on the spiritual side. And so I was wow. I need to figure out something. And so I decided to give my life to Jesus Christ. And I literally asked him to be my business partner, and the business changed from then on. It wasn't like perfect all of a sudden, like, but I had a peace about it. And we started from zero again, started generating sales. And I always want to help people because I know what it's like. I know what it's like to not have and need money. I know what it's like to invest in things and they not work. I know what it's like to lose money. So it's like, I've been there, so I know. So if I can help someone, I will, because a lot of times, there was times where I wish someone could have helped me. And there have been plenty of times where I've gotten help and received help over the years. I've gotten coaching and coach help, and I coach in other people's programs. And so, yeah, it's just a part of me. If you want someone who really cares about your success, I'm the guy.
Okay, now let's hit your one of the things that you're incredibly proud of, incredibly excited about. Let's talk about your daughter. For those folks that are watching, this will blow your mind. Greg's 10-year-old, almost 11-year-old daughter, the things that this 10, almost 11-year-old are doing blows my mind completely. I don't mean just partly. Like when I learned about this, my jaw hit the floor. I rushed out, told my wife, "You're not going to believe this. Like, there's this great guy I'm going to be interviewing tomorrow on our talk show, and his daughter's doing all the things you're going to tell us about." Greg, tell us about your daughter. Give a shout out to her.
Hey, How you doing, baby? Listen, my daughter, I call her my celebrity daughter, and so I'll tell you the story. When she was 5 years old, um, we probably were in Texas a year, right? Because we moved here when she was 4, so we was here a year, and we took her to see The Lion King when it was here in Texas, and when
Oh,
there she is, when she saw the Lion King, and like then the little girl comes out on stage as young Nala, she sat up, at the edge of her seat, and she was just so tuned in, and and she said, "Mommy, is that a little girl?" And my wife was like, "Yeah." And she was like, "I want to do that." And so my wife was like, "I'm going to make this happen." And so she was like putting her into children's theater, and so she went into children's theater, and she just excelled. My wife is a singer, and I mean she can sing really well, and she was
yep.
leading the church choir at the time, and she taught my daughter how to sing. So now my daughter can sing and act, and she's just being a kid and excelling at the acting in children's theater. And then she says, "Mommy, I want to do this for real." So my wife then starts looking for.
Sorry, this is what your 5 or 6 year old daughter says.
Yeah.
I want to do this for real.
I want to do this for real. So then, yeah, there she is. So then she starts. We find her, act like community theater. So she goes into community theater, and she starts excelling at community theater. And it just took off, man. She just kept pushing, kept doing the things. She just excelled everywhere she went. She was so serious about it. Like in some of the community theaters, they would have practice, and she's learned all the lines, and the adults didn't know the lines yet. And so she was just really into it from the get-go. She loves to dance. And so she got to be in the community theater, The Wiz, which was one of her favorite things. So she got to do The Wiz, and she played like young Dorothy. They had a twist on it. So there was a young Dorothy and an old Dorothy, and she just absolutely loves it. And so then she got at that age, about 6 or 7, she auditioned for The Lion King. Because you can find these auditions if you're in this world. You can find them on certain sites and certain listings. And there was an audition.
Sorry, Greg, when you say she auditioned for The Lion King, are you talking about The Lion King? Like stage? That's
yes.
her.
Yeah. She auditioned for The Lion King, and
on Broadway.
Yeah, because you could do it, send in a video audition, and so she auditioned and she didn't get it, and so then she kept doing community theater, and then the pandemic came, and during the pandemic she wrote a book. So she wrote a children's book, how to deal with fear and stuff like that. And she raised over $5,000 to send this book to children all over the world. She had a Kickstarter campaign, and she got hundreds of books out all over the world. And then the Lion King audition came back again, and she didn't want to audition for it. She's like, "Oh, they didn't take me. I don't know." And we had to talk her into it. We was like, "Listen, you never know. You got to keep putting yourself out there." So she said, "Okay." And so she did the audition, and this time she got it. So she was 9 years old and she got it. And the pandemic was so Broadway was everything was shut down, and they had made a plan for when they was going to open. And she got that audition, and we had to move temporarily from Houston, Texas to New York City for 7 months for her to do the Lion King. It was 1 month of audition and 6 months of shows. And so we did that. I'm from Queens, so I had family and knew the area, so I was able to navigate it. But it was awesome, and she did a great job. She is such a professional. And,
my goodness, you must be so you and your wife must be so proud.
I am.
So
I forgot a big part of that is because when she was 5, she wanted to do theater, and then when she was 8 years old, we took her to Disney for her 8th birthday, and she did this dance. And I'm always recording her with my phone. I record it, and that night my wife was like, "You think we should post it?" And I was like, "Yeah, why not?" People, So we posted it. And then the next morning, there was about 6,000 views on the video.
Oh, wow.
And it just took off. And so she was dancing in Disney. She had got made up as Princess Tiana. She did a dance. She was dancing to the band that plays near that marches around. And so it was just a great moment. The PhotoPass photographer was like, "You should be up there." And he extends his arm, and he walks her out in front of everybody. And so she does this dance in front of everybody, in front of the band.
Wow.
And And that's what we recorded, and that's what we posted. And so the guys playing were looking at her, and they almost missed their formation because they was looking at her.
We got caught up in it.
Yeah, yeah. And that video went viral. We got a call from the local news that evening, and they were like, "This is going to go viral." They told us, so get ready. And I don't know how anyone gets. If you know how to get ready for a viral video, like for real, let me know, because there was nobody knows. I called what's going to happen? How do we do it? Listen, it happened so fast. The trajectory of how many people comment and write and watch, and it just took off. And it was gone. It was just gone off to the races. Disney called us the following day. And invited us back to the theater. So they brought them back and they interviewed them, and they gave us free passes for the rest of our vacation to be in Disney. So that was cool. That's really then we went home, and then about a couple weeks later, we got a call about being on television. And so she got to be on the Sarah Strahan and Kiki show regarding her dance. And they showed it, and it was just a great segment. The segment was all about her and the dance and the viral video. And we won a Disney cruise. They gave us a Disney cruise at the end of it. And one of her goals is to be on TV. She's like, "Mommy, I want to be on TV." And it's like, anytime she says, "Mommy, I want to do something," and next thing you know, it happens. It's not like magic.
Okay, Greg, tell us the latest news, because I know there's a latest news.
Yes. So 8 years old, viral video, 9 through 10 years old, on Broadway as young Nala in The Lion King in New York. And now she is the young Elsa in the Frozen tour, heading to a city near you. And it was just announced yesterday. So this is breaking news. She is the young Elsa Ice Queen in the Frozen tour, Disney's Broadway tour.
She looks so poised, Greg. My
yeah.
goodness.
Yeah. She will get on here and have a conversation with you that you wouldn't believe. She just loves people. She loves to make people smile, and that's all. It's really just in her heart, and she always likes to do it. And so she's not shy. She's engaged, and she will talk. And she's always been that way. My wife would tell me these stories. I call them the grocery store stories, because she would go to the grocery store, and my wife's an introvert, and so she would tell me all these stories about the people who was trying to talk to her in the grocery store, and she didn't want to talk to them. And so when my baby was young, about 2 years old, she would just start conversations with people, and my wife would be like, "Stop talking to people." That's just who she is, you know.
Greg, we could spend a lot more time together. I can't tell you how much I've enjoyed this. I love the fact that you genuinely, from a heart-based place, help people, and you help people who I know in that industry, they struggle. So bless you for that. Yeah. And on that note, we're going to wrap up here. If you can hang on for just a minute, Greg, we're going to do the sequence that sort of wraps the show up, and you and I'll meet backstage. Ella, if you want to go ahead and wrap us up. Previously on Bottleneck Live was Mr. Ian Robinson, president of Enliven. And if you have software you need built, if you have software that make your operations run much, much better, Ian Robinson is your guy.